Welcome to Bendy. Join your two favorite transatlantic weirdos, Andy from Ireland and Beth from the USA, as we take you on a journey through every topic imaginable, with insight, vulnerability, and fart jokes, or in other words, the complete human experience.
Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young and I'm one of your youthful, innocent hosts. Joining me as always is your other youthful, innocent host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. How are
Andy.
you? Nice, right? Youthful and innocent.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's good. I
right.
like it. I don't know about innocent anymore.
I mean...
But definitely youthful.
But I mean, like, the part of the mistake is that we tell people we're youthful and innocent, right?
Yes.
How are you?
No, that's not how you ask me that. Start over.
I did say... Oh, no, well, okay, yeah, you're right. Beth, what's the
yes,
crack?
The crack. I only say this because I just added it to the website. Instead of connect, It just says crack. And it's CRIC, which I didn't know, and now I do.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Nice
all my
confusion.
Ireland badges, like my, if there was a merit badge for lingo, I'm starting that. The crack. I went to a Halloween party over the weekend, as I'm sure most of our listeners also did. Basically,
Tell me
everyone.
all.
It was crazy, though. It was like there was a lunar eclipse. So everyone was already freaking out, and it's California, and everyone loves a good party. And so just like going through town, everyone was like driving like shit, and like the stores were full, and people were just being, it was like, I don't know, we're all turning into werewolves basically. So, but these friends that we have, they're so good. They went all out. There was like a popcorn machine. They had an outdoor movie theater going. They had the pool heated. There were, I don't even know, there were probably like 60 people there. It was crazy. She was like, it could be anywhere from 5 to 20 couples. But I ended up working the popcorn machine.
Nice.
Little known fact, I know how to work a popcorn machine.
That's good. Where did you get that experience from?
Excellent question, Andy. So I used to work at a college, I'm not going to name it, and they would have a 3-day party. And so part of the party was to feed the students because they were, drinking and whatever else. And so we had a peanut butter and jelly bar and a popcorn machine, and they would come in and eat and drink good food and just get fed and all the things that they needed. So I did a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwich making, and I got to use that, I'm air quoting, butter, because
Gotcha.
it's like
the clarified.
It's almost, you guys have Otter Pops?
No,
they're like
I don't think
popsicles
so.
in a tube, basically.
Yes.
That's essentially what it is. It's like butter product, and it's hard, and so you pour it in the thing and it like sizzles and melts, and then you pour in the popcorn in it. But it's like, it's really, I enjoy it more than I should.
Gotcha.
So I made myself in charge of the popcorn machine, I guess.
I mean, I also love making popcorn. I am not sure how the popcorn machine will work, but that sounds like fun. And
I know you love popcorn. And I did get this, so you got the silicone popcorn popper.
I did.
And I got one because you recommended it, and it was the best decision I've ever made. It was like the best $9 I've ever spent.
If you're like eat a lot of popcorn, it's absolutely the way to go. And that in the UK or over here we are more sweet popcorn rather than salty popcorn, right?
No.
Yes. So like if you go to a cinema, if you ask
really
for popcorn as standard, you'll get a sweet popcorn.
Oh,
whereas
no.
I know.
Oh, like
Yeah,
kettle? Like kettle? No, here it's like
kind of not even.
You get so much MSG that you have a tiny heart attack.
Yes. Like I remember going to the movies whenever I was over in like Chicago and stuff like that, and like the butter pump, that you could just pump extra butter. I was like, wow, this is intense. But standard is sugary.
It's so interesting. I still haven't gotten over ketchup, and I'm going to admit it here. I don't like Nutella. Have I told you this?
No, that's. I mean, I can understand that.
Okay.
It's. I do. I mean, like
And I
It's
love peanut
just because
butter.
it's chocolatey. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like I only had because they're not a big thing over here. Like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, maybe 4 or 5 years ago because we just don't do them here. I know, and it was incredible. Like it was
I
like
know.
why
They
have I
are.
not been eating these? They're so good.
I mean, it's a metaphor, like you're the peanut butter to my jelly kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
it makes sense.
I know.
And I mean, like especially with toasted bread. Oh, so good.
Oh my God, I haven't
Uh,
done that in a long time. And then
so tasty.
you can go full Elvis and do like peanut butter, bacon, and bananas, and then deep fry it,
Yeah.
and then you get a fluffernutter.
Oh, do you have to deep fry it? Is that the wow? That's a lot.
I think it's, if you have one, if you have it readily
Why
available.
not?
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah. um,
Jan,
yeah.
I digress, but
This was. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's because your answer. Yeah, because we were talking about what the crack was with you, and this is what this is the rabbit hole we went down from the Halloween party.
Elvis and his fluffernutters. Ha!
Elvis and his fluffernutters.
What is the crack with you?
So instead of Beth, I went to a wrestling show. This is the second time I've talked about wrestling in this podcast.
So you can talk about it as much as you want. I saw a photo. If if it's okay, I may throw it on
Yeah.
the
Go for
stories
it.
or the Insta so people can see because it's just I'm so jealous.
So like I'm not like I used to be into wrestling a lot more in my like teenage years and early 20s, but like no, I just kind of like going to live shows occasionally because they're so much fun and like they don't. I think people have this idea of what they are and they're not really that, and also like people love to tell you that it's fake, which always cracks me up. I'm like, no, really, is it fake? Wow, I could never have imagined. Thanks for letting me know, but it's like. It's so ridiculous. It's so silly, and but at the same time, there is when like a really well put together match. There's a level of drama there that is just almost untouchable. Like nothing else really does it, and it's kind of hard for people I think to get their heads around that. But it's so much fun, and like I had a great time. My preferred way of, and I suppose it's my preferred way of like enjoying anything is to completely engage with it. In this case, completely engage with the fiction of it. So whenever, the referee is getting pulled away by a clearly pre-prepared bit, I'm like, ref, what are you doing? Get it together. Look behind you. It's so much fun.
He's got a chair.
Yeah, go, but ref, are you blind? Etc. It's so much fun. But yeah, so that was great. So that was nice, and then just trying to do all the usual sort of life upkeep is
I call
the
them
current crack.
life chores.
Yeah, they never end.
They don't. They don't.
But wrestling's the most exciting crack with me recently.
Did you give notice?
I did.
Yay!
Yeah. I told them on Saturday night, and then I handed it in to them today, so I'm kind of pleased. I haven't heard anything
I'm
back
so proud
yet.
of you.
Thank you.
That's
I
it.
need
It's
done.
just you and I are so similar that it takes us months to make a decision that we know will benefit us, but it's like getting up the nerve to do it is hard. And
Oh,
so,
it is.
Good job.
And it's like, I think it's because I'm always like worried about disappointing people. I mean, God, that is almost certainly the through line of my life. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to upset or disappoint people, but it's fine to upset / disappoint me. It's just other people that's the problem, But I'm definitely better at it now because I think maybe even 3 or 4 years ago I would have probably stayed in this job for another 6 months, But now I'm just like, yeah, I'm done.
Yep. That's
So it's
growth.
good.
That's growth.
Yeah.
Or something.
True. So it's something. Definitely something. We can agree on that.
So
We are going to talk about childhood today. Both of our childhoods, I guess, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Beth, do you want to lead off? We're just going to do the same as usual. We're going to ask some questions of each other. Do you have any you would like to lead off with?
I have some fun ones and some not so fun ones.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of both.
I want to know what you were like as a child.
That's a good question. So, like, think I was fairly. I think I told you recently. I might have even said it on pod that somebody had told who I walk, whose dog I walk, said they were happy that I was doing it because they knew me as a kid. They haven't seen me properly in about 20 years, but they remember how kind I was then, and they were like, "This is the person I want looking after my dog because I'll treat the dog with kindness," and that was really nice. So I think that's true. I was always very, like, much the same as I am now, emotional, sensitive. I was, bookish, I guess. I was always a keen reader partially because my mum used to read to me, and that really got, like, gave me a love of books. So I started reading from a young age, and I would have really, was a voracious reader, still am. And very much one of those kids that was more interested in reading rather than socializing, etc. Again, not much has changed. I do love socializing, but I do love reading as well. And it's I think because, and that was probably true then. It's easy to read a book. It's easy to navigate reading a book. Easier than people, certainly anyway.
Absolutely.
But I think, I still had lots of friends. It's again, another story of my life in that I, at a certain level, reject all of that. But the reality actually is that I had a lot of people I was close with. So much the same, I would say, then, as the overall answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I think part of who I was as a child was sort of dictated by where I was, because we moved around between North Carolina and Kentucky, so I was dirty.
Amazing.
I remember going 4 days without a bath. Did you ever read the Amelia Bedelia books?
No, that name sounds familiar. I think I've heard it recently.
They're sort of like books, short story. It's short stories to teach a lesson, and so
okay.
There's this. Then I'm digressing into something I think is hilarious. So in the story, Amelia Bedelia is like the neighbor babysitter lady, and the parents are like, this is happening with my child. What the heck do I do? And so in the book, in the short story, the child won't take a bath. And so Amelia Bedelia says, don't let the child go as long as they want. So this child gets so dirty, it literally, it's got a half inch of dirt on it. And then at night, Amelia tells the parents to plant seeds in the dirt on the child. And then, 7 days later, the child wakes up and all of a sudden, there are things sprouting out of its body, and it gets in the bathtub and takes a bath. That was me, pretty much.
Amazing.
But
I can see the value in that.
Yeah.
That sounds nice, in touch with the earth and things like that. But yes, anyway,
yeah.
Sorry.
But I found a photo of the house I grew up in, and then I did a little digging into the town. I have a poem, actually.
Ooh, nice.
So I was born in a little town called Pipapasses, Kentucky. Population 300 at the time.
Wow.
And so it's named after a Robert Browning poem, and I'm going to read it to you. It's just a little snippet. It's called The Song from Pipapasses. The years at the spring and the days at the morn, mornings at 7, the hillsides dewed pearled, the larks on the wing, the snails on the thorn, God's in his heaven, all's right in the world. And so I feel like I was born into a poem in a weird way.
Because that kind of sums up the reality of that place. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we lived at the top of a holler, which is sort of where the two mountain peaks meet, and there were box turtles that I was always trying to save from being run over. So we'd always stop the car and get the turtle and bring it home, and I put it in my baby carriage and feed it lettuce, and then try and hide it from the dog. So the dog wouldn't chew its shell, which didn't always work. There were coal mines. I remember the water in the bathtub would be red because it was so full of iron, and my mom would be sorry, you gotta bathe in it. I lived next door to a graveyard, and I remember playing Barbies on top of graves. and not thinking anything about it. Like, it was
Sure.
totally normal. And then the other side of my upbringing, we were in North Carolina, so I was in the Outer Banks putting a hunk of chicken on a string and throwing it in to catch blue crabs and like netting it. Like, the patience you would have to wait for a crab to walk over to a piece of chicken and then like start eating it enough that it doesn't want to let go.
Wow, interesting.
But it was like, there was Nino's Pizza, and you'll think this is funny. There was a supermarket called Connor's Supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know our friend Claudia from
Yes.
yoga? So
Yes.
that's her family's supermarket. It's been there since
No
like the
way.
50s. Yeah. So I would go there shopping with my family and like buy all my Katie Kane and Archie comic books.
Yeah. Yes.
But that was where like Blackbeard the pirate roamed, and it was very, we had a little rowboat. There were sunsets. So I was just like, I was kind of a wild outdoor kid. I sent you a picture, and it was just like, that
Yeah.
was the, like, windblown hair, never shoes, in a Care Bear shirt usually. Most often I wasn't wearing pants. And I just remember being like a really happy, happy kid.
It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's funny because like I feel like that's probably true of me as well. Like I feel like I remember being quite a happy kid, you know, just enjoying things and not. I mean, certainly more happy-go-lucky than I am now. You know, like not worrying as much about things, which was very nice. So yeah, because that's what I wanted to ask you in terms of that the town itself was, you know, why if because it's quite a small town, so I guess it was originally built up because of coal mining, was it? Then?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then Alice Lloyd was a woman that lived there, and she opened a tiny college.
Okay.
So it's called Alice Lloyd College, and my parents ended up. My dad he was the first generation college student, and so he ended up getting his. He was working on his dissertation when we lived there. It was when my mom was pregnant with me, I think. Like he would be like, yeah, I totally don't remember her being pregnant with you at all because I was so focused on my dissertation. But he was working on, there was a town on the other side of the hill, on the other side of the holler, called Hollybush.
Mm-hmm.
And the town, everyone disappeared. It was kind of just like one of those, like,
Intense.
Everyone just like walked away, and the town was there. And so that was his dissertation, was to figure out why. And it was because the industry, on that side was starting to go. But it was really, it would be interesting to go back, just to see it. But it's kind of one of, my aunt and uncle went to visit it maybe like 7 years ago, and they sent me pictures, and they were like, it was super freaky. They're from New Jersey. They're like, it was super freaky. Everyone was sitting on the porch, like staring at our cars that drove by, you're not from here kind of thing. So it's a very insular place. And there's, insular enough that, there was, at the time, there was definitely like inbreeding and families that had, you can look it up, there's a family that had a genetic disorder because there was enough inbreeding within the family that they had blue skin because all of their blood vessels, were closer to the top of the skin than.
That's nuts.
Does this tell you much about why I am the way I am?
It tells me a lot why you laugh.
But my parents, were like, we don't want our kids to, end up falling in love and staying here.
Yeah.
Which, like, at the time, I would have been fine to stay forever. So I loved it.
This is, that's fascinating, and like I love that because I have always wondered what a holler was. Like I've heard the word before, but that's what it is. There you go.
Yeah.
It sounds it sounds fascinating, and we certainly have communities that size. We have villages and places that size, but like because of how small we're never that far away from anything else. I mean, not to say that some of these communities aren't a wee bit, isolated and sort of, aren't super excited by strangers either, but I think, due to the scale we're talking about, that kind of gets ratcheted up to a level that, it's hard for me to get my head around anyway.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's what all of Kentucky is like. That was
No.
just, the experience that I had in this very, very small area. And I haven't been back since 1988, so I'm sure things have
Yeah.
changed. But the college is still there. Our house is torn down, and they built a little highway over, so, which is weird.
That will be a trip as well, just seeing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So here's one, and this is something that I always go back to. Back to the very sort of early parts of your childhood. Do you have a first memory?
I do. It involves me not wearing pants, of course.
Yes.
But I remember my dad, was probably 3. And I even remember I had this little like orange and white tank top on. And I must have been like potty training or something. Because I just didn't like wearing pants or underwear. Whatever. We were at the top of the holler, like we had a neighbor, and behind us were, woods, and that was it. And but I remember him saying, "I'm patching the roof. Why don't you come on up?" And so I love to climb ladders. I didn't always make it to the top. Sometimes I fell and hit my head. Also explains maybe a little bit why I am the way I am. But I remember, climbing up to the top, and it was like an asphalt roof. And I remember just like I'd never been up that high. I could see down into the, down the whole town below, and just like the feeling of the asphalt on my butt and how warm it is and how happy I was. And my sister was there and my dad was there, and I was just like, I had never seen anything from that vantage point before.
Yeah.
And it just struck me.
That's lovely.
What about you?
Like mine is, and I think like whenever I went back to check about this, because I it is vividly, it's we still have a family that live in Guernsey. So Guernsey is as part of the UK. Well, Jersey, obviously, because of New Jersey, right? So there are 2 islands that are actually closer to France than they are to the UK that are owned by the UK. There's more than 2 actually. There's at least 3. There's Jersey, Guernsey, and Sark. And we have family that live in Guernsey. And when I was, I think, 2 or 3, we flew there. And back then, it was properly, to get to those islands, you would fly to somewhere like London, and then you would get like onto a prop plane, like you would like a 6-seater kind of prop plane to fly you out. It was nuts. And I have a very clear memory of looking out the window and seeing clouds and just being like, whoa, because again, it was like nothing I'd experienced, and that's the first thing. It's there. I still kind of can visualize it now, because I remember like talking to my folks about that before I think I'd been on a plane, because we didn't. Other than that, we tended to stay in the UK up until I was about 16. I think was when we flew to the US for the first time. But I had this clear memory of seeing clouds, and I suppose it's the same as you're saying. Like it's that change of perception. It's that change of seeing something you haven't seen before, and it just kind of imprints on you, because it's so new and so unique and exciting.
It's interesting that both of ours are like vantage point height.
It's true.
I
wonder, is there a
were you wearing
commonality
pants?
Nah.
You were on a plane.
No, I was gonna say no. I suppose I had to. Yeah, if I was on a plane. I mean, I'm sure if it was that age, at some point I did not have pants.
That was one of my questions. Was where did you guys travel when you were younger?
Largely around the UK. So I don't think we went much further than the UK. We often would have stayed in and around Northern Ireland. We went to England a few times. I remember going to the Isle of Man, which is an island between Ireland and the UK. And then till like I think I always forget the dates of this exactly. I feel like it was my 16th around my 16th birthday, and then my 18th birthday we went to Florida on my 16th birthday, and then we went to California on my 18th.
Did you go to like Disney and all that?
Yeah, I mean that was
That's
it.
a big deal.
It is a big deal. Like we were so excited for it. We were so thrilled that our parents were able to like figure that out, and you get the money together and stuff for it. So like it was, and obviously really formative for me because
every time you come here, you go to Disney.
Yes, that's true. I wish I could afford it.
I know.
No, but I think it has ingrained in me a love of the US as well. I think that's where it started, that continues to this day.
I think, like, I don't think I got on an airplane until I was in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I don't, that can't be right. No, we would drive. I don't think, I didn't get on a plane until I was in middle school.
What? Give me the age range for middle school again, because it's always something I confuse.
It's like grades, it's like 12 to, or like 11 to 13, 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that was weird. I remember being terrified, and everyone was smoking cigarettes, and I had an ashtray, and it was weird.
I think there was still some smoking on planes when I was flying. 90s, would there still be smoking then? Probably.
Mike had, this is another tangent, but Mike had his 20th high school reunion a few years ago, and they had a time capsule that at the time everybody put something in, and I think either Mike or our friend Gabe had put in a Taco Bell ashtray.
Nice.
So we still have one of those.
That's nice. Oh, wow.
They were disposable.
Of course.
I wonder how much it's worth. I could sell it on eBay.
But like, here's the thing: like Taco Bell in particular has such a following.
I know.
There was, I can't even remember. There was some sort of like Taco Bell stuff that Target had when I was in California last time. But I was trying to get a Taco Bell T-shirt, but I wasn't able to. I was very disappointed.
I'm sure you could look online. They have them.
That's true. I'm sure I could find my.
I'm hashtagging Taco Bell.
Please sponsor us. Give us T-shirts.
That's right. Okay, I have a question for you. This is deep. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
What is one of the greatest lessons that your parents taught you?
Ooh.
That you've carried forward from childhood?
I think that it's an interesting, so recently I was at a yoga retreat, and as part of that I met one of my sister's friends who I'd never met before, but I'd heard about her. So, she knew my sister well, and she was talking about my sister and how, because her friend has went through a lot of like medical stuff in recent years, and has had a lot of hard times. And my sister has always been really great. Has always went to visit her, spent time with her, thought about her, and she was saying to Gail, it's amazing how kind of caring you are and how you look out for people. And then we got talking about how we're both kind of like that, and because like I have. I think it's definitely my dad, dad being dads, especially back then, was, more emotionally cut off, but he is, he's very kind. He always looked out for us and supported us. But my mum, very emotional, very caring, always went the extra mile, not just for us, but for other people and things like that. And, I think my sister and I, we really saw that, and we took it to heart, and I think it has really become such a big component of our characters and who we are as people to this day, so I think that it's not, I don't think there's like, I can't remember any sort of, I suppose that is a lesson, right? But it's not a super obvious one, I guess, but I think that's the thing that comes to mind. What about you?
I was, when you were describing your childhood and the person that you were, it kind of struck me a little bit that it sounds like you've always been who you are.
Yes.
And that's sort of, I think that's been my experience with myself, but it was also reinforced by my parents. Um, Both my parents worked really hard. Like, I remember, them instilling this concept of like work and like work hard and
Yeah.
you got to earn, I would have to, if I wanted something, I'd have to split. Um, I want a camera. Okay, well, you pay half. I need a computer. Okay, you pay half. So it was always like I had to work towards the things that I wanted.
Yes.
Do what you love.
Yep. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's
So,
important.
and really like putting your like immediate family first.
Yeah.
They did that. My dad was actually, um, he was my best friend. He was my hero,
Yeah.
and he was very confident with his masculine and feminine sides. I remember we were biking once, and he's like, "This seat, God damn it, it's
Mm-hmm.
really hurting my ass." And he got like he's like, "Can I borrow one of your pillows?" And it was this fluffy heart pillow that had like
Mm-hmm.
ruffles on it for my bed. And he put it on his bicycle, and like he was like, didn't give a shit. He was like, "Okay, here we go." And like it's like fluttering behind him, and I was just cracking up. But I mean, he wouldn't necessarily like cry all the time. I remember maybe he cried 4 times in my whole life, but
Yeah.
he was very accessible emotionally and really was, a steward of helping me be fine with who I was always, because he was always who he was. And he was a redhead, you know, in Kentucky with a New York accent. He never fit
Yeah.
in anywhere. I remember him saying he had a hard time, like, his closest friends were his cousins, but he had a hard time in school. He ended up working at a soap factory and then decided that wasn't his future and he needed to go to college. And, that was not, again, like first generation. I don't think his cousins went to college. And so just this concept of like, yeah, work hard, education. But I would say the biggest lesson was to tell the truth. And there
Mm.
were times I
Yeah.
didn't, or my sister didn't, and there were consequences to not telling the truth. And so I try as hard as I can. It's not always possible, but I try as hard as I can to really be a truthful person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I think it's so interesting, and I think the time when your dad would have been like that and would have been presenting that version of himself was a time whenever not many men did really. I mean, like, certainly I speak for our country, but even I see how the US is represented. I mean, obviously we saw so much media and things like that, and it was still kind of like a bit sort of forbidden for men to show the full spectrum of emotions, or masculine and feminine side. So that's really wonderful, I think.
Yeah, and I remember, I have a sister, I don't have a brother, and I remember being pregnant with our son, and I was like, how am I going to raise a son? Because I don't know how. But then
Yeah.
I have to remind myself, well, we named him after my dad, and, I have him as an example of sort of the person that I'm hoping my son will, yeah, I'm hoping that, Mike is obviously very emotionally stable and very
Yes.
confident in all aspects of himself. And so we're trying to raise him, truthfully and to be open about feelings and those kinds of things.
That's good.
But it's
And
definitely something that I have to think about and I worry about.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it is because, like, because you said earlier that I was always the person, like,
Mhm.
as a kid was the person I've, all, or no, wait, how did you say it?
You've always been the person that you are, or something.
Yes, something along those lines.
Listeners, what
But
did I say?
yeah, rewind the tape, everyone, rewind the tape. Let us know. Um, but I think, what's interesting about that, well, not, interesting about that is that, like, I think that I hit a point where I was like, well, I need to bury this down, like, I'm not normal, I'm not like other guys in that way, and I think I spent a chunk of my life really kind of burying that down, and like there's still elements of that I don't really know how to access, how to like engage with the world in that way, and I think I'm gradually getting there, but it's one step forward, two steps back.
I think this podcast is part of that.
Yeah.
Like what you're sharing is going to help, those you that are listening.
Yeah.
And I also wonder when that paradigm like shift happened for you, when you realize like, oh, this isn't how other people are or whatever. Like what shifted and when did that happen?
It's and I don't think there was like a hard point, but like I certainly think late high school, so I reckon probably the teenage years are probably when I buried some of that down and tried to smash myself into a mold of some kind, just in order to feel some sort of acceptance and whatnot. But like I think and I think that like I've always rejected a lot of that in a lot of ways. It's just for the desire of belonging and the desire of like you don't want to be different a lot of the time because you don't want to stand out. It draws attention to you. Yeah, you don't want to stand out, and it draws negative attention to you. And that's really hard to. It's hard to deal with what realities that brings to you.
I'm just proud that I feel like since I've known you, this has been, part of our conversation. Yeah. And I just feel like whatever muscle you're exercising, like bro, not really, but bro. Like this emotional, availability or emotional realization that you're having, like you're working hard at it.
Yeah.
And I can see that you're like every day it's something that you're working hard at. And I will say like you're definitely like the fact that you're doing this at all with me shows that you're the steps are moving more forward than back.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Thank you for saying that. I think
you're
that's
welcome.
True, though. Thank you.
You get a merit badge.
Yay!
In emotional availability.
But like it's, as I say, it is, and I don't know. I think as well, and especially as a kid, you kind of want guidelines, right? You kind of want to know how to be in a way, and it's sad. I think a lot. I think it's, and I suppose the way all our systems are set up in schools and things like that. It is about being a certain way. And I understand the value of schools, and I understand the need for them, and why they work the way that they work. I just kind of wish there was more options, I guess. I wish there was other alternatives. It just feels like it's like when I spend time with younger kids with like if we're doing the pet therapy stuff, like especially the really young ones, like their imagination is so incredible, and the things that they say and the places that they go and like the leaps of creativity they can take are wonderful. And I feel like so much of systems in the West kind of just hammer that down. It's like, no, put that in a box, and it's such a shame.
I agree with that.
But like, I don't know what the answer is, because like as I say, there's so many people, and I think an education is important too. But I don't know.
Yeah, there's no right. Well, there are right answers, but it's systemic. Setups, that are holdovers from other generations, or they can, make those realizations, and experiences a lot harder to obtain. And
true.
That's unfortunate.
It's true. It's so true. Yeah. So I have a goofy one now. Okay. To bring them up. Do you have a goofy one? Do you have a goofy one? Oh yes, I know. So, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up, or what what did you have in your mind?
I wanted to be a teacher.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, up until college, and yeah, I wanted to be a teacher. Like from from the time that didn't happen.
It's it's an incredible, like, sort of sensible, realistic goal.
Yeah.
Whereas mine was stuntman / astronaut.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, I was really not imaginative when it came to that at all. I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I was watching some movie today, and some kid was like, "What do you want to be when you?" Where someone was like, "What do you want to be?" And he was like, "I want to be a motorcycle rider." And I'm like, so simple, right?
But I think that's such a boy thing. Is it something exciting and kind of woo, like. And I mean, like, probably the astronaut thing was because I love sci-fi and stuff like that, But
would you ever go to space now?
That's a good question. Like, I guess my bigger issues with, like, space travel now are the amount of, like, fuel it would cost me for, like, my ego trip to go up into space. I don't think I need that. Just
in a penis-shaped rocket.
Yes, exactly. I really don't. I mean, like, if there was some sort of sustainable solar rockets, okay, yeah, sure. But like, that's what puts me off that these days more than anything.
You don't want to be a space tourist?
I don't want to be a space tourist. No, I don't want to be. Well, I do want to be William Shatner, but not for those reasons.
Did you hear what he said? Did we talk about this already? About what William Shatner said when he went up in the Blue Horizon? Essentially, I wrote it down somewhere because it was so poignant. Basically, he got up into space and he had the biggest sense of grief he'd ever felt in his life because he realized that space is dead. It's silent. It's cold. There's nothing there. And he's looking down at the earth and he realizes that's where life is. That is where growth is. That's the love radiating, and here we are fucking it up.
Yeah.
And that was his takeaway, and I was impressed that he would say something like that.
He's one of these guys who I think has a reputation as a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, yes. I don't want to be like everyone thinks he's an asshole.
But I have read and I've seen other people speaking about him, and I think his problem is he is another one of these guys who's a clear idea of who he is. Mm-hmm. He isn't a super social person. I think he has set up tons of boundaries and he just sticks to them. So I'd say he's probably an okay guy. It's just he doesn't suffer fools gladly and whatnot,
right,
which is fine, but it's that's such an interesting sort of revelation to have after being in space.
Yeah, and that's when I was like, okay, cool. Not that I've really, after the Titanic explorers, I was just like, I don't think anything like that is a good idea, where you can potentially blow up or be crushed.
Like that, so heartbreaking, but everything about that company and their submarine was such hubris, it was insane.
Yeah. So speaking of danger, what is something that went wrong on a trip, or what's an experience you had where you were
injured myself?
Danger. You were in danger, or you got injured, and it kind of affected you, or not. Something you remember.
That's a good one. I don't think I was a really cautious child. I'm still and I probably went a hard 180 in that, and I quite taking risks and stuff like that now in my adult life, which is why I really push myself out there. So I was always very scared. So I would have been very careful. The thing I remember was there's two things that occurred to me. One was running whenever I was at a friend's church group and running and falling on my arm, and I think I either sprained or broke my arm. I didn't realize for 2 days later, it was so bad. I was in such pain. I think it was kind of it's not so bad, you can just walk it off, and then it was oh no, this is incredible pain. I can't deal with this. And I think that, if anything, just made me more cautious. I remember running around before then, and I think that made me even more hypervigilant and a wee bit fearful of things, so that definitely stayed with me. I still remember that very well. The other thing was that, like, it wasn't even, I don't know why it stayed with me, because I remember having a bike stolen, and it was
There's a
stolen.
special place in hell for people that steal bicycles.
But like the circumstances for it that it happened were so my fault that I was really, really angry with myself, because essentially the bike was getting fixed. I went to collect the bike, and on my way back there was a toy store, right? A toy store that I loved, and in that toy store there was a Super Nintendo, which is, what do you call it, sort of Famicoms maybe? And
No, we call them Super Nintendos.
you used to call them Super Nintendos as well. Yeah. I was going to say, no, I won't do it. I was going to do a Super Nintendo Chalmers, which is my another Simpsons thing. But, so I really wanted to play the console in there. I wanted to go and have a game. So I set my bike outside, didn't lock it, came back out, bike was gone. And I was so angry.
And you were
myself.
40 years old.
And I was 40 years old. And this story happened 1 month ago. Well, 5 years ago.
That's really sad. That's a horrible feeling too. I
just felt so guilty about it as well. Like, I really did.
Did you tell your parents the truth?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really, like, I think that's when I really started, like, really kind of punishing myself. I was, like, so angry with myself. I really kind of punished myself mentally for that, and I think that set a bit of a bad pattern. So that one really stayed with me, you know.
Mm-hmm. Self-flagellation. Is that something I can say? Is that...
It is.
Yes, okay. Well, I'm absolving you of that now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, like, I wish I could absolve myself of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still like, I still feel guilty, and I don't do it as bad as I used to. I remember, like, losing money from a cash machine and, like, going, right, I'm not spending any money today. I'm just going to sit here. So I ruined the whole day, and it was like, why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. These things happen, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely way easier on myself than I used to be, but, you know, it was bad back in the day.
Little Andy.
I know. What about you?
Mine are, so when we lived in Pippa Passes, there was, like, we would have to drive, obviously we lived at the top of the hill, so we would, like, drive up the hill. It was a big hill, and they were always, like, it was like our house, the graveyard, and then there was a driveway that went even farther up, and they were gonna put a baseball field there for the town, but then it just turned into, like, the garbage dump. But they were always, like, blowing up rocks, and there were, like, dynamite boxes everywhere, and bulldozers and dump trucks, and then they ended up turning it into the garbage dump, and that's a whole nother story. But, like, they would park the dump trucks right at the edge, and so it was probably like a 200-foot drop to the road. And one of the emergency brakes in the dump trucks went out, like nobody was up there, and it just started rolling down the hill as our car was driving up. My mom was driving, and my sister and I were in the back seat. Whoa. And I just remember looking up and seeing this dump truck, like, rolling down this hillside towards our car, and my mom being like, shit, and, like, punching the gas, and, like, us driving like 100 miles an hour and, like, it missed our car. So that happened.
That's intense.
I know. And then I had another one. What was it? Yeah, oh yeah, there was another time we were driving from Lexington, Kentucky back to Pippa Passes. It was, like, snowing everywhere. We were in this tiny little hatchback Subaru, and my dad was driving, my mom was sitting in the passenger seat, and there was, like, a big, like, mountain on the side, and he lost control of the car in the snow, and so we just went careening off, headed, like, into the mountain, and I remember him screaming, "Put your heads down, this is the end."
Whoa. So
and, like,
intense.
And yeah, I just hit the microphone, so I'm gesturing to Andy. So I was, like, down, and, like, I just remember him, like, when your parent screams, "This is the end," like, okay, like, we're all gonna die. And then it didn't hit, and, like, we got stuck in the snow. And I remember my mom was, like, always stronger than my dad, so we put her in between she had her butt on the car and she had her legs on the mountainside, and he was had the car in reverse, and she pushed the car with her legs out, and we got out of the snow. So yeah,
That's incredible.
Normal things.
I don't think I had any. I mean, the only time, like, as you said that, it occurred to me whenever we were flying back from the US, like, the plane that was flying us back, one engine went out and then a second engine went out, and they informed us of this, and they ended up having to fly back, and we ended up having to stay overnight in a hotel in Atlanta. And I remember going, "Ooh, 2 engines out's pretty bad news."
How many engines does a plane have? 4. Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of intense, but like,
wow,
I can't remember like being in any, one of the good things, or weather-wise, it's so neutral here in terms of it doesn't get too hot, doesn't get too cold, so you don't have extreme weather conditions to deal with, which is I'm grateful for, which means that we can we escape some of that,
I in Oregon we didn't get that. Well, yeah, I mean it's happening more often where we do get enough snow that you lose power for 5 days, kind of stuff. So, but
that's so intense.
I remember, it snowing in Kentucky, and it being like we would wake up and there would be like 2 feet of snow, and they'd be like, school's closed for 2 weeks,
and it's like,
and my parents would be like, okay, and then we'd have to go, because my mom worked at the library, so we'd have to go sit in the library and watch the Three Stooges reruns and The Flying Nun. Did you watch that ever? Did you?
No, I've heard of that name, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Please, once we're done, just watch the intro to that show.
Okay. Oh, is it a show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's a nun. She has this giant habit, and she flies.
Wow. I did not know that was Sally Field either. That's awesome.
I think it is. I think I someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's been decades. But yeah, that was I spent a lot of my childhood watching the Three Stooges and the Flying Nun, and then eventually the Ghostbusters cartoon show.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Which I loved. What was your most memorable holiday gift that you wanted so bad, or like you got it and you were like,
So just to clarify, do you mean gift that I got while I was on holiday, or
no,
gift that I got somebody brought me back?
Not holidays and like celebration of I don't want to say Christmas.
I see.
I don't want to assume I know what holidays. Yes, not holiday vacation.
Okay, so I have.
This is where USA versus Ireland.
USA. I have a very clear answer for that. But I still remember so clearly, and this was back in because we moved house. In the same time, but we moved house I think it was about 8 or 9. I think I can't remember exactly. So it was still in the old house. So I must have been like 6 or 7 or whatever. And I really wanted a Lego train set. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming down the stairs, and they had built the Lego train set for me, and it was sitting there and it was built, and I was like, oh my god, like it blew me away. I was thrilled. So I still have definitely my Lego train set more than anything else.
I love Legos. I still build Legos. I just finished the Indiana Jones collection. Nice. Of the one, the original Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, was it like Raiders? So
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah. So it's like the ball. It's like him trying to get to the
I've
gold.
seen that set.
I built it.
Very cool.
I did a really good job. I'm gonna take photos of all the I am so into Legos. I just did the Batmobile from the original Batman with Michael Keaton, which we've talked about is the Batman.
The best. Mm-hmm.
Indiana Jones. I did the typewriter. I did the Jurassic Park collector's one.
Nice.
And then I did the Screaming Goats one from Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh yes, yeah. Uh-huh.
Which nice. Is any screaming animals or like noises out of place, like the honking of the horn in the movie Little Miss Sunshine. I just cracks me up. Okay. Do you want to know mine?
Yes, I do want to know yours.
So I was 2.
Mm-hmm.
2. My sister got a Barbie for Christmas, and then it was no longer her Barbie.
Wow.
Literally, I would not let it out of my hands. I fell in love. I get Barbie's got issues around, I don't know. I just fell in love.
Sure.
There's a photo of me just like sitting at the bottom of the stairs, just like brushing Barbie's hair. My parents had to go out and get another Barbie for my sister because I would not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just would not release it.
Would not release it. So.
Your sister's older than you?
She's 4 years older than me.
4 years older than you. Okay. Nice. Wow.
So it was not an appropriate toy for a 2-year-old.
No.
But
you're just like, what is this? I love it.
It was mine, and I've never really had like such a visceral reaction. Probably ever in my life other than that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. And I think, isn't it? I suppose when you're a kid as well, it's just like getting stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like being the owner of these new things is just like, whoa.
Yeah.
How incredible.
Yeah.
So exciting.
I know.
Yeah, that's class. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure I have others. Like, and I remember getting like, I mean, would have got a lot of Lego, and I remember getting my first sort of video game system as well, and things like that being quite exciting. But it's the Lego train set that I think wins every time. So exciting.
Do you still have it?
I might do. Like, I still have, like, because I really got into the pirate Lego as a kid, so I have a lot of that, and there was a big box of it, I think, still in my parents' house, so there's a very good chance there's at least most of it there, yeah.
I kept all of, probably like 20 of my Barbies and my Barbie wrecker van, and I, like, took the Barbie, like, it's 3 feet, 2.5,
wow.
3 feet, it's huge. And I was like, I don't care what gender of kids I have, they're going to play with Barbies. And so that became a thing, and I feel good about the fact that all that money my parents spent carried forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a good thing about Legos. They last and they continue on. Like, I've got the whole stuff. Like, I've got the I've got Jabba's Palace, the Sarlacc Pit, and the Sand. Oh, if I get this wrong, I'm going to be in big trouble.
Just someone's going to... they're going to get
Cruiser? You. I don't know. I know that's wrong. Come at me, nerds.
It's not the Land
me.
Cruiser? Someone
it's
tell us.
Jabba's, no, it's the barge.
The one where, like...
Pleasure barge.
Yeah.
Barge.
Oh, wow. Really? You had that one?
Yeah, I still got that. Yeah, I picked those up whenever I was like working IT jobs, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I would have.
Do you open them and build them?
Yeah.
That's good.
Of course. I can't stand that, and I know people that do buy stuff for collector's value. It's like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. My dad kept, I still have the original Batman cereal from the 80s. I have Dick Tracy cereal when that came out with like Warren Beatty. And then I have, my dad had Elvis trading cards from like the 50s.
Wow.
With bubble gum. So I have some of those. And I looked on eBay. I was like, this is my big ticket, right? And they're like $5.99.
Yeah.
So
it's always surprising to me, the stuff. I remember selling some of my old stuff back when I was like trying to buy this house, and I was like, I'm sure some of this is going to be worth a fortune, and it wasn't. And then other sort of weird crap is like worth loads. Weird. Odd.
Yeah. That's how it goes. It's like what's worth a lot to you is not to other people.
It's true. Like, I have an idea. Like, I've got a massive comics collection, and I have this idea that they're going to be worth thousands. But I think probably if I was to get £1,000 for them, I would be doing well.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Don't.
Yeah, I probably would.
Just hold on.
I don't think I could.
No.
No. I remember seeing a comedian talk about this. You know, when he was thinking he was putting together this comics collection. He was like, "This is going to be so amazing for my children," but then he came to the realization that all that's going to happen is you're just creating more crap for them to deal with. Right. Whenever you're gone, you know.
It's true. It's true.
But yeah.
Do you have any other questions? I have one more.
Yeah. Do you want to? If you've got another one, let's do that, and then we can wrap up.
So just okay. This is deep.
Yeah.
But I guess, is there let's assume that someone's going to listen to this podcast in 200 years. Mm-hmm. 'Cause they are, obviously. Yeah, of course. What wisdom from your childhood do you want to pass on to other people? Andy.
I think, like, it's just, treat people nicely always, and I also think that it's important to, like, this maybe is kind of obvious, but, like, listen to people, and, like, actually hear what they're saying. And that may seem, as I say, like, super obvious, but I really think that a lot of people don't do that. I think a lot of people sit quietly waiting for their turn to talk rather than actually listening, and I think that if we did listen a lot more and we understood what people were saying, and we had, like, and we took the time to kind of process that, it would be better for everyone. So yeah, I think that's what I would say, is just, like, listen to people properly and have time for them.
That's wonderful. I would say, like, you are you. There's no one else like you on this planet. And I would say you have a place and you have a purpose and you matter.
Yeah.
So.
And embrace that, do you know what I mean? And embrace how different you are from other people,
Please, don't conform and don't try and fit the mold, because everybody else is doing that, and...
Yeah, and it's getting old.
And I'm like, no, everyone looks exactly the same.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's great. Awesome.
Very good.
So, we'll start. Great. I've got a dog barking now.
Yay.
Are you hearing that?
Yeah, a little bit. Hi, Sasha. I love you most.
No. I wonder if we may be getting an early Halloween trick-or-treaters possibly, which is the wrong night, so they're going to get stern words.
They're going to get stern words?
Yeah, I'm only joking, obviously.
I saw, this is totally off topic, but I saw, it was someone posted that they've been putting, like, a potato on top of their candy for years. And then some kid, they hear, I got a potato, and so they put another potato on top of the candy, and they become known as the Potato House.
I love it.
And, like, they're like 99% of the time they choose potato.
How interesting.
So,
that's the novelty.
Yeah, so if they show up, give them a can of tomato soup or something.
Or can of beans.
Be like, here's my Lego train.
Yeah, no, psych, you're not getting this. It's mine forever. Yeah, I heard a thing, and it was an American household that at Halloween just blasts music out of the house and has a big sign outside that says "Dance for your candy," and it just had loads of kids, like, giving it stacks outside the house, and I was like, what a lovely idea. But yeah, so we're coming to the end now. So Beth, the question that we both dread.
Oh God, right. Okay, I'm gonna go first this week.
You're gonna ask me?
Ask me. Okay. No, you can ask me.
So Beth, what's been bringing you joy this week?
What's been bringing me joy? So I'm always like, oh God.
Oh no.
Oh.
Joy.
Yeah. So I will say my kids have been bringing me joy. Just watching them be, I guess, they're getting older and they're discovering themselves and they're talking to people using their own voices. And there's a swap meet that'll take you to when you visit here. Mm-hmm. It's called the Kobe Swap Meet. It's the best swap meet ever. So we go probably 3 times a month, and it's huge. It's like outside of this big Coliseum in downtown San Diego by SeaWorld. And the kids get like a certain amount of money, and they have to bargain. And instead of bargaining, they're both just, they go up and they are so kind and they say please and thank you. And so I know how much, a Barbie that Harper got was worth, and she paid $10 for it because she was just like being super kind and nice. And same with
Nice.
Charlie. He's like, I don't see anything I really want, and I want to, I don't want to take, if they need the money and someone else will pay more. So they're just,
That's
and then
great.
at the Halloween party we were at, this woman came up to me and she was like, are you Harper and Charlie's mom? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I'm the yard duty person. Your kids are my favorite kids in the whole school.
That's incredible.
She's like, they're just so kind and so nice, and I just like, I'm recognizing a lot of times that I'm getting joy from just from other people.
Yeah.
And I'm really getting joy from seeing them have an impact on people around them. And, they are who they are. I just kind of feed them and hope for the best.
You do more than that. You do more than that, in fairness.
Yeah. But it's been a good week for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Watching them be good humans. So.
I'm like,
that's the goal,
yeah,
right?
and just before you skip past it, that is to your credit. That is because of who you are and because of who Mike is. You know what I mean? That's why they are like that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're awesome too.
Well, what about you? What's bringing you joy this week?
The thing that occurred to me, and I think I meant to do this last week, was that, so the pet therapy stuff I do, I have a group of students who are like 16 to 18, the kind of older group. And so they're nearly out of high school. And recently, and it was just like, this is, I'm on the inside. They were like, she was like, so I've got some goss for you. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, there's two boys who are after me and are fighting over me. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So every week it's like, right, what's been happening? What's the latest goss?
What's the crack?
And I'm just thrilled that I am inside enough that they can talk to me about
They
these
trust
things.
you.
Yes, they do, and it's very sweet, and it really made me extremely happy. And she's had updates for me for the past 3 weeks, and now they're off over Halloween break. And the last event was that she was going to the movies with both of them, and I'm like, ooh. Oh, and they're brothers, and I was like, oh yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to an update for that. But that, it's things like that. I always love it whenever people are like feel comfortable enough around me that they can share that sort of thing.
Please keep us updated.
I will.
What movie did they see?
I don't know. I think it was, they were gonna see, I think, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, that's supposed to be good.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Okay. I really prefer to watch movies in my house because I always have to pee.
Yeah.
And I like eating food that doesn't cost like $50. It's just a different experience here, probably. It's like $150 to go to the movies.
Yeah, so
if you want like a drink and a snack, and then I don't need vibrating seats,
Yeah. Yes. Oh god, yeah.
I don't need a lounge chair with a toilet in it.
Yeah. I think that I have done like it's pretty inexpensive for us these days, which is great. Like you can get like a cinema pass in my local cinema for like £10 a month, which is like $12, and see as many movies as you want, which is insane.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's not the financial model that is here.
No, not at all. It's
sorry, I have to back up. You guys get a break for Halloween?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
How many days?
Well, a week ordinarily, I think
wow.
they get. Like, I mean, it's so crazy to me how much time off both the workforce and schools get in this country compared to America. Like, they get a half-term break of about a week. They get, in the new year, they get a break for Easter, which is about, I think it's 2 weeks. There's another break before exams, I think, in June, and then we get 2 months off over summer. And you just get a month, don't you?
We get, it's like, so they get out in June and they go back at the end of August. June, July, August. So it's
no, so that is 2 months.
2.5 months. We get 2 weeks off at Christmas and then a week off in the spring, and that's it.
Okay.
And then like various like 1-day holidays. Oh, and a week off for Thanksgiving.
Oh, but. So it's not too bad. We get it's probably equivalent. I thought you got actually a lot less for summer, but yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting though. I would have loved to have the week off, like for Halloween. That would be epic.
Yeah, it's great. It's so cool, and I mean, like I remember doing stuff like going to events and things like that. I mean, and Halloween's not even that big a thing in this country, not compared to the US certainly as well. But I think like it was only when I got to university that I really started like going in costumes and doing things like that. So.
Yes, I saw Sasha's outfit that you posted, so I'm going to post that for all of you listeners that want to see an adorable dog dressed up. Was she wearing her Shark outfit?
She was wearing it. I put it on her on the Friday because I went in for a second day of pet therapy, and it was a bit snug. I did not take a picture of it.
She's getting snacks.
She's getting snacks. That was quite a few years ago. She was a slimmer dog whenever she... and she was more active. She was younger, so yeah, it was a neater fit, but it was very cute. And I mean, I put it on her, and she immediately sat down in a dirty puddle as well. I was like, great, good job, excellent work. So yeah,
she's dogging.
Classic Sasha. But yeah, so we wrap it up.
Let's sign off.
All right, folks, as always, we'd like to remind you to stay bendy. Wow, excellent. Our best ever.
I think so,
all right,
too.
Bye.
High five. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. We love you.
We love you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Bendy, a Beth and Andy podcast. We are officially launched and want to thank those of you that have listened, shared, and commented on our episodes. We're truly feeling the love and hope that you feel it right back. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and YouTube, and follow us on social media to keep up to date on what silly things we're up to and new episodes. You can listen to all of our episodes, submit ideas for future podcast topics, ask us for advice, submit a joke, or an interview request at bendypodcast.com. Our topic next week is sweets versus candy, so tune in to listen to us talk about food, what a tuck shop is, the history of Reese's Pieces and the movie E.T., and get your sugar fix. Thank you so much for being here.